Beloveds. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by your love. And I'm so grateful that you are all committed to waking up to the truth of your being. I'm so grateful that we come together to have our hearts and our minds renewed by the Most High, and that we are a mastermind. Wherever two or more are gathered, God is. So I'm so grateful to be in the midst of all of you and in the midst of the Most High Spirit. The name of my talk, the title of my talk is called Let There Be Light in the Darkness. And let there be light in your darkness. With the approaching winter, we are in the season of fall. The days have become shorter, and I found myself having to mentally decide, to make a decision that winter will be a light-filled time for me, because I will seek the inner light. I will seek the light of God within. I think maybe because of my cultural heritage and my DNA, I tend to like warmth and a lot of sunshine. So I find, and many of us in the Northern Hemisphere can easily suffer from SAD, seasonal affective disorder, and can find ourselves craving carbs. I think I've been happily eating too many desserts and not stopping. But we are looking for a boost of serotonin in our brains. We are looking for the endorphin of um, of happiness and peace and well-being, and also being in the northern hemispheres. There's a feeling of hibernation, and of course, civilization cannot stop, but there is a feeling of slowing down and maybe even wanting to sleep and maybe wanting to rest. So winter is a time of turning within. For me, I found that I have committed to winter being a time where I turn to the light within. Although light may be diminishing in the physical world in this hemisphere, the light of God is forever present. So let there be light in the darkness, and let there be light in whatever experience that feels like darkness that you are experiencing. And in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3 and 4, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God separated the day and the night, and there was morning and evening. And God said, "Let there be light." Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. In John chapter 1, verse 5, the light shines into the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. In Psalm 27, I see this often when I'm meditating. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? In this season of approaching darkness, the world over, the celebrations of light have begun. On November 4th, it was the celebration of Diwali. Diwali is the festival of lights, celebrated by most Hindus, Sikhs, and Buddhists throughout the world. They fill their homes with little candles or electric lights, and there are offerings of coins and sweets. And the focal point for many Hindus is the goddess Lakshmi, who is the goddess of abundance. So many Hindus go to her for requests and prayers for unlimited abundance in the body of their affairs. So we see throughout the planet, in the traditions of humankind, that there are these festivals of light that are connected with the harvest season, with abundance, that abundance that Jesus said, I have come so that you would have life and have life abundantly. So abundance and light come together. I'd like to read from Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 through 7. And this is the transfiguration. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. Just then there appeared before him Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here with you. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for Moses, one for Elijah, and one for you. While Peter was speaking, a cloud of bright light enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my son, whom I love, and with him I am well pleased. Listen to him. The apostles, the disciples bowed down and praised God, not understanding what they had seen. So my beloveds, as New Thought True students, we interpret the Bible metaphysically. The Bible is the journey we start at Adam, the journey of the soul to awakening to the I am presence within us. The God presence, the Buddha mind, you can call it, it doesn't matter the names, it is the same presence. And we must choose to consciously awaken to the light within. We must choose to consciously awaken to the light within. So how do we interpret the transfiguration of Jesus, the I am presence within the consciousness of humanity? How do we interpret this? Transfiguration is always preceded by a change of mind. In transfiguration, ideas are lifted from the egoic realm to the spiritual. Going up into the mountain to pray means an elevation of thought. My apologies. Going up to the mountain to pray means an elevation of thought, an aspiration from the egoic to the spiritual viewpoint. When the mind is exalted in prayer and meditation, there is a rapid radiation transformation of mental energy that causes a dazzling light to move in and through the body, especially the head and the crown chakra, transmuting, transforming, and restoring us to divine wholeness. The transfiguration is about vibrating with the light of God, with the mind of God, with the power of God, being transformed into our light body. Our so-called physical body will then reveal a radiant body. Jesus referred this to sitting on the throne of glory. So when we pray, when we meditate, when we go into the secret place of the Most High, we are sitting on the throne of glory. And then we open our crown chakra to higher thoughts, to a higher vibration. And we are transfigured and transformed, born anew. So as we connect through prayer to the light of God, trillions of cells in our body burn brighter, are restored to wholeness, are restored to their light-filled energy. We become more light than matter. The challenge of living in this world is that it is so easy if we allow our minds to be conformed by the world, we then become heavier. We become more matter than light. It is through our spiritual practices and devotion to spirit that we are enlivened, that we are restored, and therefore we are vibrating in a higher vibration, in the vibration of divine light. Jesus gave his disciples and us a glimpse of his radiant body, and he was transfigured in front of them. His face did shine as the sun, and his garments became white as light. He was so advanced in spiritual consciousness that he had developed a higher degree of awakening than anyone else on this planet. And we also have a body of light, but it is developed in proportion to our spiritual culture. And what does that mean? It is developed to the proportion of our spiritual practices. So in this time of darkness in the collective consciousness of the planet, COVID-19, and many of you know that I've shared the numerology of COVID-19, which when you add all of the numbers together, COVID is an 8, and the 19 is a 10 reduced to 1, you get a 9. And the number 9, numerologically, means you must awaken to the God within. The number 9 calls us to enlightenment. So as we are traversing collectively, individually, because the collective test is also the individual spiritual test, my beloveds. And many of us are forced to confront an inner darkness, fear, doubt, and worry, despair. My own beloved mother who prays in the morning and at noon and at 3 o'clock, who does the rosary, who reads the Bible, who is a mystical Christian, is feeling challenged by the darkness within. We must then even more align our minds and our hearts and our consciousness with the Most High. So then we will become the radiant body of God in the world, in our lives, and for each other. So our development is in proportion to our spiritual practices. Does this mean you must spend all day in prayer, prostrating yourself? No, not at all. It means conscious awareness, gratitude, cultivating fearlessness, cultivating peace, praying ceaselessly, affirming our good, affirming, coming from a place of love, and knowing that the light of God is everywhere present. So the I am presence awaits us to turn to the light within. And this light within will illuminate our minds, our hearts, our body temple, and our lives. So the affirmation that came to me from reading the Transfiguration of Jesus was, my mind and my body are radiant with the light of spirit. My mind and my body are radiant with the light of spirit. And this is the call during this time, my beloveds. This is what is required when we feel the darkness encroaching, whether it's the physical changes in nature, winter time, fall and winter, where there is less light and we can tend to feel depressed. And this is our physiology. And so we must seek the light. And there are practices that will raise serotonin in the brain. Prayer and meditation increase serotonin. Gentle exercise and stretching increase serotonin. And we will feel happier and more peaceful. Listening to music and singing with songs along with music increases serotonin. Creativity, writing a poem, even a little doodle that you do on a piece of paper increases serotonin. So we must find healthy ways to increase feelings of well-being and peace in our body temple. I would like to speak about an experience I had about 3 months ago. And I was astonished. I was deeply shocked by this experience. I had mystical experiences as a child. And I think it was just the innocence of childhood. But I have to be honest, when I meditate and pray, I will feel the presence of God come over me, and I will feel or stay in a trance-like meditation. But this was the first time in decades that I was given a vision. So about 2 months ago, I went into meditation. I meditate 15 minutes a day, sometimes twice or 3 times a day, but quite honestly, it's about 15 minutes a day. But I have been meditating daily for the last three and a half, possibly 4 years. I had a coach my spiritual coach and mentor, who really explained to me that if I wanted to see changes in my consciousness, in my thinking, in my life, I could not change without changing and awakening from the inside out. So meditation, quite honestly, had been something I had dabbled with, but it was not a daily discipline. I have been transformed by meditating daily. So 2 months ago, so when I go into meditation, typically, I do not see anything. I see darkness, and I affirm what I call a God statement. I was trained in transcendental meditation about 10 years ago. I received a mantra, but I'm a very interesting character of a person. I didn't know what the mantra meant. And because I'm a new thought truth student, I thought, what am I saying to my subconscious mind, since I don't know what this mantra in Sanskrit means? And I Googled the mantra, and I like my mantra, but I found that it was not as spiritually inspiring for me once I knew what it meant. And so I meditate with God statements. I make God statements. So I will say in my meditation, I've been meditating the statement of truth for the last 2 years. God is my strength. God shows me the way. God leads and guides and directs my life. I know it sounds very wordy, but it keeps me centered. And when a thought of what am I having for lunch comes in, God is my strength. God leads and guides and directs my life. So typically I do this. Sometimes I see lights. Many times I will receive psychic or intuitive knowledge about a person's face will show up. Or I will be told where to go, or you should go here, and then I meet a person. So I get directives. However, this time, my beloveds, I went into meditation and I went straight into a vision. I was gigantic. I was in the sky. I was in the sky and I was probably about 30,000 feet tall and about 30,000 feet wide. And so I was exactly myself. And there was a huge cloud with the sun shining behind it. And I looked at my body, and my body was, I looked exactly like myself, but I was very much like an accordion. This is all, I was Martine, but with many folds, like an accordion that goes in and out. And so I found myself stretching out my hand and my arms, and it was like all of these folds would stretch out and I could spring it back. So very much like I was doing this and springing back, and I was taking my face and going all the way up to this cloud formation in this with the shining sun, and I would face it and then snap my face back. And I said, wow, I'm so big. And I heard God say, yes, you are very big. I said, but I'm not. And I said, but why are my arms like an accordion and I can snap them back and forth? And Spirit, God said to me, every fold in your arms is a dimension. You are a multi-dimensional being. So every time you push your arm out 60,000 feet into the sky, every fold is a dimension. You are in multiple dimensions. And I said, is this how it is when we die? And God said, yes, when you die, you come into your expansive, gigantic shape, beingness. You are so, and I said, all of this is contained in my body? And God said, yes, all of this is contained in your body, but you are expansive and you exist in multi-dimensional realities. I'm stunned. So I'm enjoying this, stretching myself up, and I would stretch myself all the way to the edge of the sky before space, before the cosmos and the moon and the stars. I would stop right at that edge and come back down into the clouds in the sky. And then I just was kind of existing and beaming in this. And then God took this cloud formation and sun and brought it straight to my face. And I could look straight at the sun and not be blinded. But Spirit also did the same thing. The same way I was stretching and moving throughout the skies, Spirit did this and came very close to me, the sun and clouds. And then in a booming voice said, I am the living light. And I said, what? And Spirit said, I am the living light. I am light that is alive. I am not a man. I am not a woman. I'm not a form. I am the living light, and I am light that is alive. Je suis la lumière vivante. I am the living light. And in that moment, God said to me, I said, so you're a light that's alive. And God said, humans think that light is an inanimate object or an inanimate thing. Spirit said to me, when you turn on a light bulb, that is me. When you switch on the light in your room, that is me. When you turn on the headlights of your car, that is me. Even the smallest light, when you light a candle, my essence, the living light, is alive in that light. Light is alive. And my presence is everywhere throughout nature. This light is throughout nature. Spirit, God told me it was within us, and it told me that it is physically present in the light bulbs, in the electricity, in the candlelight, that it's actually God presence, the living light in every light that we see. I said, even firecrackers, because this summer people were using firecrackers and all those sparks were everywhere. Yes, God is the living light. The vision ended. I was in darkness. I came out of the meditation. Nothing like that has ever happened to me in my life. I believe it's because there was an opening. And the opening was my meditation practice that I began to do diligently because I got so sick and tired of being scared, frightened, dysfunctional Martine. I got so sick and tired of coming from fear, doubt, and worry. And I realized that I had to begin to turn within me to be renewed by the Most High. And so I began my practice of meditation 3.5 years ago, 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, and it has grown. And I'm hoping that it will grow even more. So here are my reminders about the light. In the living light, we are safe. In the living light, we find refuge. In the living light, we find right direction. In the living light, we can trust that divine spirit is guiding and directing us. In the living light is wholeness. In the living light of God is peace. In the living light, we are born again, transfigured into our light bodies. My beloveds, when we pray, when we meditate, we become less matter and more light. We are filled with the living light, which is God. We become illumined. We awaken. We are enlightened. And so during this winter, during this physical winter, remember to seek God, the living light, and your mind will have the happy serotonin, feelings of well-being, peace, harmony. And if you are in a winter spiritual season where you feel as though you are living in a winter time of despair, of dis-ease, of fear, know that God is the living light, and God is renewing you, restoring you. God is your comfort. Turn to that light, and your way will be illumined, and you will be healed. Thank you, my beloveds. And so it is. Amen.